you so much. So stealing that energy, let's do something really quick. If you've ever received an email that was suspicious, that was requesting you to send money urgently, please raise your hands. Okay, that's everyone in the room. Okay, so maybe we need to keep those hands up because of my next question. If you've also questioned the intelligence of someone who clicked that harmful link and infected their network with some malware, or sent money off to a fraudster, and you question their intelligence, please keep your hands up. Okay, that's almost all of us still, and this is totally normal. But as a cybersecurity professional, I have come to see how easy it is for even the technology savviest of us to become victims of deception attacks. For example, just a few weeks ago, operations in London hospitals were disrupted. In fact, there were very critical surgeries that were to be performed for cancer patients that were not able to be done because of a cyber attack. Now, what was done? The attackers targeted, these Russian hackers, targeted the company that supplies blood tests to hospitals across board. So, of course, the impact was very, very seen and very, very felt across the healthcare system, causing a major assault. And it really just showcased the healthcare's vulnerability to cyber attacks. But you see, the style in which this was done, or the attackers got into this particular enterprise, is not exactly uncommon. What did they do? They simply used deception attacks. And all this group typically does, this particular hacker group does, is they start off their assault by sending an email that has a harmful link or an attachment that is dangerous. So clicking that link or downloading and opening that attachment just gives the attackers a foothold into the organization. And then from there on, a lot of havoc is caused. And like I said, it's not a case of one of those many occasions. Actually, the data breach investigation report of 2024 shows that 2/3 of all of the data breaches we see across the world is caused by human error or a human action. And so it's not just about falling for the obvious scams, like I'm calling from your bank, I want your PIN, right? It's a lot more complex than that. And I want us all to begin to look at this from the lens of how our personality traits basically set us up to be vulnerable to these kinds of attacks, and what kinds are we vulnerable to as individuals. Because I believe very strongly that knowing those vulnerabilities and our human vulnerabilities that are unique to us and our personality traits just helps to inoculate our minds and helps us take proactive steps to protect ourselves against those kinds of attacks. And that's what my talk today is mostly about. So, what is personality? According to the American Psychological Association, personality has to do with those traits that help you adjust to life uniquely. And there are about 5 of them. They are coined into an acronym called OCEAN. So this one is openness. And when you're open to exploring new opportunities, what happens is your guard or your desire for privacy really is lowered because you want to take in everything, right? And then when you're a conscientious person, that means you follow rules, you adhere to instructions. What can happen also with that is that you can then be a prey for a kind of attack that we see typically, which is impersonation. How does impersonation happen mostly? Somebody pretends to be an authority figure. And if you're African or you're Asian, you understand this very much, that as far as we've been born and we've known ourselves as individuals, we've been taught to obey certain authorities, from our parents to our teachers, all of those figures. And slowly and steadily, obedience has not just become a social construct, but a psychological response. And authority in this context is not just in terms of hierarchy in society or hierarchy in your organization. It's also in expertise. It's the reason why when you hear someone call from your bank, you just assume that the person is an expert and can tell you that actually somebody is trying to get into your account and I'm trying to help you. You immediately are zoomed in to obey that person. Why? Because there's a psychology of authority. There's a psychology of what? Persuasion. And authority is one of them. We've also seen that authority is the most potent way in which cyber attackers can get into most organizations. So if your personality type really is prone to being influenced by authority, especially under duress, you want to really gain certain habits that inoculate your mind. Now, back to the personality types. Before now, I had spoken about openness. I had spoken about conscientious people. The next set of people look like me. They are extroverts. Generally, we crave social connection. And so we are constantly connecting with people. We generally fall for a major type of persuasion, which is social proof. And because of those connections, we can also be vulnerable. Another group of people is the agreeable people. Those are the ones that are likely to go with the flow, follow what's happening. Those people are also very impressionable and are very prone to also authority attacks. Like I said, across all of the personality types, we are all prone to authority-driven attacks, which generally show up as impersonation. Now, the last one is the neurotic group of people. These ones are just generally, looking closely at everything. They're not taken in by a lot of things, but they act under duress. And that could also be a human flaw that they have, right? Generally speaking, their own disposition is they want to really check things out. But what we've also seen with checking things out and looking closely is they're also prone to authority attacks when they're under duress. And I'll give you an example. Assuming someone of authority in an organization says, I need you to break this rule for me to get access to this. Once that impersonation happens, which is happening right now with artificial intelligence a lot, right, that person is also prone. So now we've spoken about all of these attacks and all of these types of attacks. What should we then do about all of this? I want to challenge us all to do 3 key things today. The first key thing is to accept that as human beings, there is no patch for our human vulnerability except security awareness. Now, I do not mean wearing a tattoo, cybersecurity tattoo on your head. Making a tattoo on your head is not what I'm saying. But that will make for a good conversation starter, right? Imagine if I showed up with one on my head today. But what I mean is for you to know yourself and what you're prone to. Are you an agreeable person? Are you someone that is generally wanting to meet other people and is extroverted? What are you most likely to fall for? Are you someone who is neurotic? What kind of circumstances will make you stumble and fall for cyber attacks and then put your organization or even your own personal finances at risk? You need to know those things. The second key thing is we all need to challenge ourselves and consider how personality science is currently used in marketing, right? We use personality science right now to drive marketing campaigns, to build personas, customer personas, to build customer journeys. What if we could use personality traits as well to guide how we're teaching people about cybersecurity awareness? How are we using that information to then guide them? If we are dynamically doing this and not just making one size to fit all like we currently have it, imagine the possibilities. It means that your own experience of a cybersecurity awareness training will be different from mine and will be more purpose fit for me as well as for you. Also, simulation attacks, so seeing how these things play out, because sometimes it can feel like very distant. It can feel like something that happens in other parts of the world, but we know it's happening everywhere around us. So seeing how that gets to play out dynamically is one key thing that we must do as organizations and as people as a whole. But the third key thing is also challenge us all to build resilient systems. Because why should one click on an email or opening one attachment cause all organizations to come on their knees? No, we need to rise past that. And it's a simple way, or one of the simple things to do, is to make sure that our defenses are layered. You know, like how our houses have a burglar proof and then we have the door, right? That is 2 layers of defenses. We must ensure that when we build the security, we are conscientious of how we build our tech and our system within organizations, such that people will need to break multiple layers of defense before they're able to steal data, steal our money, or cause any kind of disruptions. And so lastly, I want to close out by saying something that I have pulled from one of my favorite quotes I've pulled from a book I really love, Art of War by Sun Tzu. It says, "Know thyself, and you will win all battles." Thank you.